Okay, welcome to the second episode of Two Curious Podcast. I'm Chao Ming,
And I'm Dana.
and today we have a very special guest, Nikita. Okay, Nikita.
Hello.
Okay, so Nikita is a close friend of me and Dana's. I actually known her since secondary school, while Dana knew her in poly. Yeah, so
Yep.
we were all studying in the same course, which is tourism and resort management. However, currently, like the previous episode, you all know Dana is already in uni and I'm in NS, sadly. So Nikita, tell us more about what you're studying and what you're doing currently.
So I'm currently studying in University of South Australia in Adelaide, pursuing a degree in aviation management.
So today's topic will be talking about university life overseas and living abroad, because as she said, she's currently staying in Adelaide. So
Adelaide.
she's,
That's
curr-
so fun.
she's currently pursuing her studies overseas, and I'm sure there are many of 20 to 21-year-old out there that has just completed their JC or their poly education, and they are looking around for options of furthering their studies, whether it's locally or overseas like Nikita.
So, Nikita, what actually motivated you to choose to study abroad?
I think it's like the life experiences you get, and like because studying locally, right, you have a lot of other commitments, like family and friends. But when you go overseas, it's like you get to focus more on yourself, and yeah, you just learn to be more independent.
So far, what have you learned about being independent?
You can get everything done if you really want to get it done. It's just how much you want to put in. It's like being at home, right? I'm just very noir. And like, so every time my mom tells me to do something, then I just like, oh, later. But there is like, I just get my life together cause I'm the only person in control of my life. If I don't wash my clothes, then tomorrow I got no clothes to wear. Like, nothing is gonna be done for you. You can be rushing your assignment and you can choose to not eat, but food is not gonna appear on the table. Whereas at home, you do your work and then food is just gonna appear on the table. So it's like you need to manage your time and
Yeah, that's very true. Then what made you choose Australia instead of other countries? Or Adelaide in particular?
honestly, my first option was to study in the UK, but the UK is a little too far and because like time difference. So like, I guess like cause I'm close to my family, so I just feel like if there's really a need for me to rush home or like if my family wants to visit me, then it's kind of difficult for them to like fly all the way there or for me to fly back. And then Australia is significantly closer and I guess a lot more Singaporeans study in Australia. So it's out of your comfort zone but also within your comfort zone in some sense. And why Adelaide? I think cause like my goal, like I said earlier, is to focus on myself. And Adelaide is really quiet and chill. It's very different from Melbourne or Sydney.
Does this have anything to do with like why you chose aviation studies?
Okay, like cause I was thinking of continuing tourism or doing aviation instead, right? Cause I interned at Changi Airport and that kind of sparked my interest to study aviation. I filtered out some unis and it was like between Brisbane, Sydney and Adelaide. And then I thought like since I want to focus on myself, why not just choose Adelaide since it's like more laid back and like the city is so small, everything is so convenient. So yeah.
Would you have been studying the same thing as what you're studying now if you were to go to the UK, or is it something different?
If I went to the UK, I would still do aviation management.
So I guess you are liking what you're studying now, right?
Yes, of course.
That's great.
Zunbo.
Then
Oh, of course lah.
Okay.
do you think you'll like go on and pursue like a career in this industry? Is it, or do you think it's a very tough industry to survive in?
I think in Singapore, like with Terminal 5 coming out, it's definitely an industry that will continue to grow lah. And that was what motivated me to continue studying what I like to continue pursuing my passion in some sense.
But what has
So like
recently because of COVID, it's been
yeah.
so bad for the aviation business. So what has your lecturers or your peers talked about the future of the current aviation industry?
I think the industry will definitely change, but then we are like very lucky to like the fact that we are still studying makes us very lucky because when we graduate is the time where the industry will like pick up once again. So it's better like this whole thing happen while we are studying than like when we are out in the industry.
Do your professors or lecturers predict the future of tourism to be the same as what it was before COVID? Because I don't see it ever becoming the same again. It will definitely be
It's
different.
yeah, it's like how 9/11 happened and then the entire business model, like everything in the industry changed. So like this will have an impact, but based on what they tell us and based on what the world predicts, it's like the industry will still continue to grow.
Actually, when you say the business model changed because of 9/11, as in, do y'all study about it? Like how like certain crises will actually change the way aviation works?
Yeah, we do. Like, so firstly, we study about it, right? And secondly, cause my father is in the industry himself. So it's like, last time they were less strict with like the security and everything. And because of 9/11, then they tightened their security measures and everything.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
So having moved there for how long have you been there already before coming back to Singapore?
Technically it's supposed to be a year, but I came back for 3 months because of COVID. So like 9 months.
So you have been there for 9 months. Then what was the biggest like culture shock you have right when you first landed in Adelaide? Or have you been there prior to like studying there? Haven't?
No, I've been to Australia but not Adelaide.
Oh, okay. So what was the biggest culture shock?
My biggest culture shock didn't come when I first arrived. Okay, like in terms of upon arrival, I guess Adelaide is really damn freaking small. It's the size. Yeah, it's just everything is so within reach. You walk one round and the end.
It's like
You mean
what?
the city, is it, or what?
Yeah, so I live in a city and the city is it's like very, very
It's
small.
like what, Orchard Road?
It's even smaller than that. It's like
Huh?
3 tram stops. Yeah, 3 tram stops, which is like, okay, kind of like 3 bus stops. Or maybe like 5 bus stops, and that's the end of the city, from one end to the other end.
Of Adelaide?
Yeah, CBD.
Wait, so it's like a small island? Standalone island?
No, as in like the CBD area is
CBD
just
area.
that small. Yeah.
So you have never been out of CBD area in Adelaide?
Okay, so I have to like, cause I study aviation management, so it's like business plus engineering, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have to go to my other campus, which is out of the city.
Mm.
And then like on weekends I also travel out. So yeah, I've been out of CBD, but I live in CBD.
Oh.
It's like Singapore has a lot of shopping malls, right? But there is like one mall and that's the end. In CBD, yeah.
So you frequent that mall all the time because that's the only thing available.
That's the only mall that's near me. So yeah.
Does it get very boring?
It's like you'll know the entire supermarket layout because there's only 2 supermarkets there. Yeah, it's like Sheng Siong and NTUC, you know, like where you go to then. Yeah.
Wait, so what's the size of Adelaide?
Pretty big.
Is it?
The entire
It's bigger than Singapore, right? It's bigger than Singapore.
Like the whole South Australia is damn big lah, but Adelaide. Let me Google.
Adelaide itself is quite small.
Yeah, kind of small.
But okay lah.
It's not very small. It's 3,000 square kilometers.
How do we estimate that?
Okay, it's bigger than Singapore, I think.
Singapore.
Yeah, it's bigger. It's just.
Okay lah, yeah, because
it's just like
Singapore is only
city
721.
is very, very small.
Singapore is 721.5 kilometers square, and Adelaide is 3,000. So yeah, it's the entire island itself is still big. It's just the CBD area that is small, and it has everything within your reach.
Yeah, that's the good thing.
Oh, you find that a good thing? Don't you get boring? Don't you get bored?
I'm lazy, so it's just very convenient.
Okay, that makes sense. So that's the culture shock you have before going, like or when you first landed there.
To your question, you asked upon arrival, right? So upon arrival, that's my culture shock lor.
Then over
time, I used to think like going overseas will allow me to see the world more and like understand people more. And like being there, right, I realized that I'm very fortunate to have studied in Singapore and like have went to poly, where poly really like allow us to see the world. Cause when I go there, I realized it's a bit blunt, but I realized that people are not mature and a lot of them haven't seen the world like we have.
Oh, you mean your classmates and are your classmates of like a similar age?
So like for the Australians pursuing a degree, right, they tend to be slightly older cause not all of them come out of high school and immediately get a degree. But for the Asians, they are usually like the same age or 1 or 2 years younger.
And you say that they are not as mature is because like they are not exposed as much as
Yeah,
Singaporean
correct.
students, is it?
So it's like, I guess it's, in a sense, it's like theirs is like after secondary school or something, like similar to our secondary school, then they, or like maybe JC, then they
Mm.
come out to get a degree. But then like, I guess poly really like changes your thinking and the way you look at the world.
Because it's
So
a
you
lot of
connect,
industry experience from poly.
yeah. And I guess, okay, like intern also plays a part, and like,
Yeah.
like FYP, then you meet like the real life,
Industry partners.
like customers, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
FYI to people who don't know, Nikita is Chindian and like the only Chindian I know. So do people like you said, because they're not mature and they haven't seen the world, so do they treat foreigners
You any different?
Yeah, like especially someone of such a unique and different race from them, do they treat you any different because of your background or your culture?
I don't really look Asian.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it's like I have an advantage over like the rest of my Asian friends. But they're just very shocked when I speak Chinese though.
You speak Chinese to them? Why would you speak Chinese to them?
Cause like a lot of them are from like China, Taiwan, Hong Kong. Then sometimes it's really very hard to communicate.
It's
Yeah,
like
that's
some
a culture shock. Oh
international
my god.
school.
Okay, so I'm just very shocked like how, I'm sorry, but their English is like, their proficiency level is not very high. And then like I see them studying in Australia and it really shocks me, like they really step way out of their comfort zone to come to Australia to study. Then like for us Singaporeans, right, it's like English is our first language. So naturally we pick up easier. So it's like to be in uni and to study in your second language is like insane, I feel. Yeah, sorry for sidetracking, but yeah.
It's like asking you to go China and study, right? Because Chinese is not your main language.
So it's like they have to translate it, and cause Australians talk very fast, so they have to like try to catch it, try to translate it and type it down. It's like a little too much work.
Then do you ever ask them like why they choose to actually study in Australia?
Okay, but for aviation it's a bit like easier to understand because like the industry's language is English. But if you compare it to like a business student, then I really cannot understand why.
Wait, so they do get treated differently, as in those who are not so proficient in speaking English?
Yeah, you tend to get treated differently, and like, okay, so with this whole COVID situation, right, my friends wore a mask out, and because they were speaking in Chinese, and then she got slapped by an Australian.
Slap? Huh, where?
In the
At a
street.
train station.
Huh? Then
Yeah,
then
so
did
like
you
someone
report?
just came to slap.
Then did you report to
I
the police?
wasn't there.
Oh.
I think they did. But yeah, so it's like you really get treated differently. But for me, like, I don't really feel it as much or see as much just because
You don't look Chinese.
that Asian. Yeah, I don't look Chinese. Yeah.
So I believe you're like blending in well with the locals, is it?
I just like have a small circle of friends. Like I don't really hang out particularly much with the locals. I hang out with like some Singaporeans. Okay, like I do talk to the locals because like since you're already there, you might as well just like talk to them, and yeah, not that much lah.
Basically, Nikita doesn't have friends. Okay, so okay, what about roommates? Because you're definitely living alone and sharing an apartment, right? So do you have any interesting or funny experiences since you've been living with different roommates? Like I've heard some myself, but I'm sure Dana and the other listeners would like to hear more about your story so that they can kind of mentally prepare themselves if they will have to share their flat with a roommate in
You
future.
can't really prepare. The thing is, you can't really
you don't
prepare.
have a choice.
You can't prepare for a bad roommate.
Okay, that's true, but just some experiences, I guess.
Yeah, I used to live in a student accommodation, so it's like with 2 other people. Yeah, I don't understand how some people can live alone. It's like they just don't clean up after themselves now.
Are you still living with them? Oh, you moved out already.
No, they moved out, and when I get back, I'm gonna live alone. Like alone.
Is the
But-
accommodation there like pricey?
Yeah, okay, it's $330 per week.
$3
$330
$330
per week.
per week.
Per week.
SGD.
Yeah.
Oh my.
AUD.
How
So
much
it's
is
like
hall?
$330 per month, I think.
Wait.
You're
Come again?
talking about hall, is it?
Hall is $330 per month, right?
For me,
300.
is it?
Yeah.
For single room is about $450 per month. Then for double room is about $300 per month. Yours is $330 per week.
Per week.
Wow.
Okay, but
And this is for sharing room.
AUD. No, it's like a single. Okay, the thing is, it's a single room with aircon and with my own toilet. That's why it's expensive.
For the comfort
like,
and
given-
the...
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, because
It's
I
like,
use,
I can-
in my first sem of uni, I'm also staying in a single room. But it's really too pricey and I don't even have aircon. And it's a shared toilet. And common toilet is the one of the worst experience you can ever have. Because you just don't get how some people are like irresponsible with their own
Yes,
hygiene.
that's right.
You just like enter the toilet and you just be like, why do people not flush? Why do people leave their sanitary pads around? Yeah.
They
that
don't treat
kind
it
of
as their
thing.
own home for some reason, even though they are
Yeah.
living there.
No, even if you don't treat it as your own home, why would you not clean up after yourself? You get what I mean?
Yeah, it's like cause you're staying there long term. It's not like
Right.
going to a public toilet. It's like different.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why Zhabor cannot serve NS lah.
No, it's all about responsibility and like cleaning up after yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Actually not much difference between guys and girls because I have friends, right, who have this like they are living on the same level as them. One of the guy actually like shit his way out of his. I think he didn't manage to get to the toilet in time, so
Oh my
he
God.
right out of his doorstep there's like shit, and then he like have footsteps all the way leading to the toilet. Yeah, and my friend like saw it when he was coming back from after class, and he really wanted to faint, and it wasn't even the first time, you know. It's just but I don't know whether is it because like that guy have like bowel problems or what.
Yeah, he just got constant lao sai lah.
Maybe not, I don't know, but yeah, I think there's a lot of this kind of things that can happen.
It's that
in
I guess if
accommodation.
you don't understand the person, it's very hard to judge, which is
Yeah.
something I learned also. Cause I share my lounge and my kitchen. Sometimes they don't wash their dishes, they just let it pile. Or like they wash their dishes and they don't clear like, you know, the sink drain.
Yeah, the drain in the sink.
Yeah. Oh my
Or the
goodness.
food,
Or they
the
don't
food
throw their
stuck.
trash.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or the
yeah,
food
yeah,
was
yeah,
stuck in the drainage.
And
yeah.
then the water will like clog.
You know, I even heard of stories in my hall, like people actually use the sink to wash their socks, use the microwave to dry their socks, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's horrible.
Oh
Like
my-
that's why I don't use any of you. I bring my
Yeah,
own
just-
pot, that kind of thing.
It's very shocking to see like how people are.
Treating these facilities, and it's not even theirs.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And the thing is for me, right, is because there's only 3 of us sharing a kitchen, so it's definitely bound to
One.
be either one of us. And then they just like, oh, they just let it be.
They choose to ignore it. If you don't see it, it's not a problem.
I guess they assume like someone will clear after them, maybe because at home it's that way.
So are you the one who always clean up?
At the start, I did clean like 1 to 2 times, and then my other roommate told me like, oh, if you always clean up after the person will never learn. And so I
Yeah.
decided to leave it there, and then yeah, true enough,
The
the
person
person did not clean up after herself. But I just came to a point where I learned to ignore what doesn't bother me.
Oh, it doesn't bother you over time, is it?
If she doesn't wash her dishes and she leaves it on the island, right, then it doesn't really bother me anymore. But say if I want to wash my dishes, then the drain is like, there's food stuck in the drain, and I'll just clear it when I want to wash though. Cause I don't really hang out. Like given this whole situation, I wasn't very close to my roommates, so I just let it be, and like, yeah, I don't hang out with them. I don't talk much.
not good roommates to begin with.
They were like already on bad terms before I came in.
Oh, the both of them actually knew each other already.
Like because I started in July, then they started in February.
Oh.
So they already had like these agreements before I even went there.
Damn. Must have been one like that one person who don't clean up. All started with her. Probably.
Yeah, no, it's like I don't know. I just cannot understand her. But it's okay. She doesn't live there anymore.
It's okay, you're getting
think
a single room.
I
Yeah.
think everybody that stays together, it's just a lot of different cultures at home and teachings, I guess.
Yeah. Habits
It requires you to compromise lah, but there's only so much you can compromise, right? Like I can clean up for you when I want to use, such that it doesn't cause any unhappiness between us, cause I was totally fine with clearing the drain lah. but there's a limit to how much you expect me to do. And like because she was so messy, like we got a $400 fine because of her mess also. So yeah,
By
that
the
was kind of
landlord.
the by the comfort, like the student accommodation.
Oh.
And then you share
So
the
that was
cost.
like the limit. No, it's like 400 per person. That's even worse.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well,
But
And like
are the rooms like spacious compared to I believe you've seen like Singapore universities halls.
I guess similar, but
Mm.
maybe I would say mine is a little cozier. You don't really need such a big room, and because like we have winter there and you live alone, so it's like it helps that it's small and cozy. It doesn't feel like so cold and empty.
Yeah, that is true. Like my hall room is just the size of a shoebox. It's like a shoebox, but it's
Yeah,
enough
I
for
think
one
mine is about the
person.
same. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like one rectangular shape, enough for one bed, one study table, one cupboard.
And a toilet
Okay.
now for mine.
Okay, besides the place you stayed, is the studying culture very different compared to Singapore?
Yes, definitely.
So
Like
so are they like more laid back and don't care that much about grades as compared to Singaporeans?
I would say like okay, when it comes to class participation, right? Because I understand like Singapore unis have class part and everything where you have to like answer questions
Yes.
and it's counted to your grades, right?
Yeah.
We don't have that. But everyone answers questions
Proactively.
willingly and proactive.
Oh, because they are more vocal. Okay, is it?
Yeah. It's like their culture, I guess.
Mm.
Even like in a big lecture setting, right? People will have discussions with the lecturer and everything, which is kind of a culture shock because for us in lectures nobody really talks.
Because
and,
we were all
even
like
in
scared paiseh.
and even in tutorial when they ask question like nobody will answer. But there is like if they have something to share, they will just be willing to share it.
That's actually the correct way of studying. To have a very engaging, lecture. That's how everyone will
That's
learn.
true.
I think that's one reason why Singapore universities have to include class part. Because
Class part,
Singaporeans,
yeah,
it's just
definitely.
not in our blood to do the
Yeah.
to
So
raise
it's like
this
it
kind of
forces you
questions.
to talk, I guess.
So do you find yourself talking more? Since the people around you are more willing to open up.
It has pushed me out of my comfort zone a little, but not to the extent where I will discuss in a lecture.
Oh.
Maybe in a tutorial setting or group setting, I definitely will voice out my thoughts. But for a 300 people lecture, I think that's a little too much.
Maybe you'll get there one day. Yeah.
But like in terms of studies, they are pretty laid back. I would say they are more street smart than like book smart. But Singaporeans are like kind of the other way where we excel in our
Academics.
exams and everything. Yeah. But it's hard to hold a conversation. So like there are pros and cons. But yeah, they're very chill about studies. And for us, it's like we need to get the A's, which is in Australia's scenario, it's like high distinctions and distinctions. But for them, it's a credit or a pass will do.
Because this makes you less stressed also, especially in an overseas setting where you are living alone now. So you won't be that bothered by the grades, right?
That's what I initially thought. So I thought like, I went there and then because we have like weekly quizzes, which is a thing. I don't know if Singapore unis have that.
Yeah.
But our weekly quizzes are graded. So they are pretty manageable, I would say. And then I thought like, okay, since I'm overseas and like Australia is more laid back, let me not care so much about my studies and just go back to my main focus on working on myself and everything. And then as the months went by, right, I realized, it's not that difficult for me to do well in uni. And because of the fact that I sacrificed family to be there, I feel like I push myself more, like I need to achieve more.
That's actually a good way of thinking, so that you don't kind of waste your time there.
Yeah.
Right?
But the thing is like, then everyone always has the mindset like, Australia, okay what? It's really hard to fail. Everyone thinks you go Australia study is like definitely gonna be easier than studying in Singapore, which is true. But it also depends how much you want to push yourself lah.
Actually, I think this is applicable to like poly, local uni, Singapore unis, and overseas uni. It's actually because everything is based on everything is based on like graded assignments and everything. It's difficult to fail as long as you hand in your work. But scoring distinctions is another story. That's why you say like it depends on how much you're pushing yourselves. Because it's the same, like we also have weekly quizzes, everything is graded. Because at poly onwards, if you're taking the poly route, from poly to uni, it's always a gradual examination. You don't just boil everything down to one final exam. Yeah.
It's like cumulative lah.
How much is it to actually study overseas, as in for yourself?
Like how much as in cost?
Yeah, like what's the expense for? I don't know how do I calculate it for what per semester or.
Per semester is about 17K Australian dollars. For average student, it's usually 6 semesters, 3 years. But for me, I'm only doing 2.5 because I got credit, which is an advantage of studying overseas because you tend to get more credit for poly courses. Yeah.
Wait, then what about, let's say, for the whole year round, including your living expenses and your travels or whatever?
I know some people who, once they go there, right, they just like spend their whole 3 years there. They don't come back to Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
Excluding
Rough
my
gauge, lah.
excluding my travel expenses, say like 100K, including like accommodation.
And your daily necessities and food.
No, like just school, like
Just school
accommodation and
because
school fees.
accommodation takes up the bulk of it, right?
Yeah,
So
accommodation is pretty expensive lah.
is this causing you to like face any problem with expenses itself?
Okay, accommodation is not really a main problem. Like if you go there with a friend and you choose to rent an apartment, because if 2 people rent, it can be as low as like 150 or 200, less than 200 per week. Yeah, I would say I'm comfortable in such that expenses is not really a problem for me. That's why I'm living alone and going to continue living alone.
Do you plan on like getting a part-time job there or anything to pass time?
Prior to COVID, I was supposed to be working in Adelaide Airport, but like given the current situation right now, it's pretty impossible. And it's sometimes hard for international students to find a job because we have a limit. We are only able to work 20 hours per week. Yeah,
What's the
but
pay like?
yeah, the minimum wage is high. It's like, I think it's like 10 to 15
per hour.
Yeah, that's the minimum wage. And then like for public holidays, it's like double. And I guess as you work longer, your pay climbs.
But you said you're supposed to work in Adelaide Airport. Is this part of a school curriculum or you found the job?
Okay, because my dad is in the industry and like he comes here quite often, so he knows people here and yeah, they kind of like told him like if I want, I can work there.
What would you have been working as though?
Day-to-day operations or like customer service, which is something I did during my intern at Changi Airport. That's why like he said like it would be good for me to work there.
But then now they're saying that Australia will be closing their borders till 2021. So everything goes down the drain.
Traffic is definitely gonna be low, and because if I work, it's gonna be for Singapore Airlines. So with the current traffic flow, I think it's gonna be impossible. Cause if it was for the airport in general, then maybe like domestic travel will still have high volume. But then like given that it's Singapore Airlines, I don't think I'll be able to work anytime soon.
That's true. In this scenario, do you have any plans of like going back anytime soon, or you won't be able to go back until the end of this COVID situation?
Because we are always in contact with Australia and like they have representatives here, right? So they told us like by next month, like before my second semester starts, there's a high chance we'll be able to go back. They're just making all the final arrangements.
So at least you'll be able to do your next semester back in Adelaide lah, instead of online studies.
Because like it was a choice I had to make whether I wanted to come back during the whole COVID, and I chose to come back because I just kind of feel like it's safer here.
Yeah.
But now it doesn't really make sense to be studying online anymore.
Why do you say that? It's not as productive, is it? You don't feel like you're really studying.
It doesn't feel like school, and like honestly,
that's true.
you pay so much as an international student, then you study
in
at
Singapore
home.
At home.
Yeah, exactly. And then like my friends who are there like, oh, it's winter now, and I'm like, oh, it's like 31 degrees here.
At least it's raining now, and it has been like a good 28 degrees.
So here's like 28 degrees, we're already very happy, and then they're like, oh, 2 degrees.
So do you still pay the full school fees even though you're just partaking in the online lessons?
For this semester, yes, because I personally made the choice to come back, so everyone still pays the full fees. But for next semester, if I choose to do it online, then they're gonna cut the fees.
But no, you're going back.
I'll most probably go back because I only have 2.5 years there, and like I already spent 3 months back here.
Yeah.
Since I'm going there for the experience, like might as well, regardless, just go back.
So far, is there anything like you are regretting about this decision to study in Adelaide?
If there's one thing I regret, it will be coming back during the COVID situation. But other than that, no, I don't really have regrets.
Actually, if you
Like-
choose to stay there, is the situation in Adelaide for COVID manageable? Are they
Uh,
going? Are your friends like going back to school as per normal?
So before I came back, right, the situation was kind of bad. Like there was 400 cases, and because Adelaide is really small, like the population is only 1.7 million. 400 seemed quite a lot at the time.
Yeah.
And then after I came back, right, while serving my SHN, I just watched the numbers drop more and more to a point
And then
where
your
like,
heart drops together with the numbers.
yeah, exactly. And then by the time circuit breaker started in Singapore, right,
Yeah.
my uni emailed to say like, practicals will resume. So like lectures will still be online, but
Yeah.
practicals will resume. And then all my friends were just like going out, and they were like, "Oh, we have never been locked anyway."
Oh
Like,
my.
yeah. So I came back and I just
Yes.
took a big L.
No lah, but even though like cases are not reported, it doesn't mean that it was safe to lead like a normal life in Adelaide, right?
At that point in time, it wasn't safe to lead a normal life anywhere.
That's true.
I guess it's a risk also because like nobody wears a mask out, and in that sense, I would say it's pretty unsafe.
I think
Yeah,
actually, given that situation, no matter what, I think you still would have chose to come back, right? At that point in time, in terms of safety, without without knowing that the numbers are going to drop and they're going to resume studies and stuff.
Because it's very hard to predict that the numbers will drop, and
That's right.
during that period, the numbers really just kept climbing.
Yeah. And in Singapore, at that point, it wasn't that bad yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, you think about it, right? Even if you want to wear a mask out, like, at the end of the day, it goes back to the fact that you're Asian. Like, although I don't look very Asian, but I'm still Asian in some, like,
Yeah.
it's still, they're still able to tell that I'm Asian. If you wear a mask, people will definitely give you dirty looks. Since nobody wears a mask, right, then you will just conform and not wear a mask, despite knowing that it's very risky.
Oh, so you won't wear a mask if you go back now?
When I flew, I wore a mask, but even at the airport, right, there were very little people wearing masks, and that's what shocked me. Like, because airport is somewhere of very high risk.
It's a very different culture in terms of how they are taking this like situation at
exactly.
hand. So that's the only thing you regret lah, basically. But it's a choice that you have made the same no matter what.
I guess, yeah, I would have made the same. Or maybe what other regrets are?
But as a whole, in general, you don't regret choosing to study there, right? Like you wouldn't have like studied in Singapore no matter what.
Yeah, I wouldn't have studied Singapore no matter what. Based on like the past 1 year of me being there, I guess it's safe to say like I am working towards my goals of growing as a person and stepping out of my comfort zone lah. Which is why I think I never viewed Singapore uni as a option.
Is there any advice you'd like to give to people who wants to start that
Study overseas.
choose to study overseas, or what is the turning point that made you choose to study overseas instead of local uni? What kind of advice would you like to give?
Or is there like an advice to give people who shouldn't study overseas?
Okay, the circumstance where they shouldn't go overseas is don't expect overseas uni to be very fun. To put it very bluntly, everyone glamorizes it. Nobody's gonna put a photo of them alone in the student accommodation. Like, nobody's gonna show you the bad side. Nobody's gonna show you like you have to do all your dishes alone and do everything alone. Everyone's gonna show you like them having fun, having freedom, being able to go out, do whatever you want, go on road trips. Like, you're only gonna see the
Fun
nice
part.
side of it, but yeah, you're not gonna see the bad side, and you're not gonna see yourself being lost and like having difficulties making friends. Like, if you are looking to make friends with the locals, or like if you want to work and study, it might be possible, but don't go with the expectations, oh, I'll definitely be able to work and study and like cover whatever. But if you want to grow, if you want to experience more stuff, then yeah, by all means go lah. Just expect more from yourself and not so much from the uni and like the experience stuff. It must be very clear. I think it must be very clear of like what you want to do there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people end up regretting studying overseas as compared to Nikita. A major advice would be to make sure it's something that you want to do because it's a lot of time. Okay, maybe not for her, but it's a lot of money, I guess, as compared to studying locally, where we are subsidized much more.
Studying locally is definitely cheaper, and like honestly, if you want to have fun, personal opinion, I don't know how true lah, but just go and stay in a hall. Like hall gives you as much fun, and like hall gives you freedom also what. I don't know, I just feel like if you go to party in another country, right, are you going to feel safe? Because for me it's like I just feel like it's safer here lah, and you just call a friend, like somebody's gonna pick you up. Most of your friends know where you stay, but if you go overseas,
You're all alone. You have to be
yeah, you only
responsible
have
for your own
such a
safety.
yeah, exactly. And like you only have such a small circle of friends. What if all the friends you have are like partying with you and you need somebody to come to your rescue? Like you need to be very, very responsible for yourself.
Okay, I guess that's it for today with Nikita. Thank you, Nikita, for sharing with us all this personal life experience studying overseas. Anything else you want to add?
Nah, that's
No.
all.
That's all. Okay, that maybe
Yeah.
maybe if you have anything else, we can ask you to come on this podcast again next time. Yeah. So
Sure.
thank you. Goodbye.
Yay. Bye.
Bye.